The number one issue facing Americans today, which they say will impact their vote in the 26 midterm, is affordability of everyday items like food and fuel. That's according to a recent survey conducted by our next guest. Joining us right now is pollster and political strategist Frank Luntz. Frank, it's great to see you. We've been talking about this word affordability, which has become sort of part of the political, if not popular lexicon. The president has said that word is a con job. Greg Ip from the Wall Street Journal has even raised questions himself about what even affordability means. But given that you work in the world of language and how people use it and how people think about it, where does it really lie and how do you explain it?
It's very significant. A year ago, I was on your show. We talked about inflation, and I criticized those who use that word because the average American doesn't talk about inflation. That's an economist word. The average American talks about affordability or cost. Can I afford the food, the fuel, the housing, the health care? But there's something that's even more important. Half of Americans now live, and I quote, paycheck to paycheck. And how they define that is different. But these are people who have trouble paying their bills on a monthly basis. And when half of Americans are saying that, that tells me that this economic insecurity and anxiety is real. And Andrew, let me give you three numbers behind this. 1/3 of Americans could not afford a cost, an unexpected health care cost of $5,000. And that's powerful. And when I know that half of Americans have trouble with their expenses, it goes from a concern to a crisis. And you'll notice that the number one issue is food. And the number two is food and fuel. And the number two issue is affordable health care. That's why this debate that's coming up in the Senate and the House is so important. And my warning to both political parties, if you don't figure out a way to make health care costs more affordable, the public is going to punish you 1 year from today.
So, Frank, here's the real question, though. Is it about bringing costs down or is it effectively about bringing wages up? Because that is there's two ways to handle this situation. And the question is, which measure effectively, politicians even have a real role over changing?
Well, that's a brilliant question. And no one asks it that way. And that's what I study because I'm a language person. And I know that it's the outcome. It's the result. Wages are important, but costs are vital. Wages put you in the game, but if your wages are up and you still can't afford the house you want, the health care you need, and the food and fuel you deserve, what good is it? So I'd say to you that costs are more important. And secondly, it's not just that health care has become unaffordable. It's actually that things have become so expensive and prices are considered too high.
When you think about just affordability, though, and the measure of affordability, how much of it is the price rise relative to where it was a year or two ago? The reason I mention this is because you start to think about yourself, think about the country historically. Even when you think about numbers like unemployment sometimes, I think to myself, right now, for example, unemployment in this country on a historical basis is actually quite low. It's almost like Alice in Wonderland, to be honest with you. Go back and think about where unemployment was after the financial crisis, 10%, middle of the pandemic, 14%. I wrote about 1929, back in 1932, 25%. Lowest unemployment we ever had was 2.5%. But people would say right now that somehow we're having, I've heard from people say this, we have a real unemployment problem in this country, but it's all relative. And so the question is how we should think about prices on a relative basis, how you should think about employment on a relative, and is it just a year look back, a 2-year look back, a 5-year look back? What is the measure in your mind?
It's right now compared to the past. And that's the best I can give you because that's accurately how Americans see things, that they look at it and how it impacts them personally, not their neighbors, not the country. We don't care what the overall numbers are if we're suffering. By the same token, if things are well for us and they're not well for other people, we don't see it. We don't perceive it. So it is relative, but there's no absolute. And I would say to Democrats, I'm going to go back to health care. Y'all keep coming back with a government solution. That's a mistake because the American people don't trust the government to do anything on health care. And for the Republicans, they keep coming back to an insurance-based solution, and Americans hate insurance companies. So, Andrew, the real problem here is that these vehicles, the ability to make these changes that the public is demanding, the problem is they don't trust the institutions who are responsible for those changes. By the way, that's why I'm here in studio and not doing this on Zoom. I want people to hear this clearly. We are at a breaking point in this country, that the public sees that these problems, that the challenges that have faced them are so significant, and that neither political party, I'll repeat that, neither political party has the answers for them or is willing to do it. And the final proof for them was a government shutdown that lasted months, many weeks, 6
Frank,
weeks, I guess.
It sounds like both parties then are between a rock and a hard place, because you're saying that the only solutions the American people will accept are solutions that lie outside of the government, and yet that's what's in the control of the administration, of Congress. What needs to be the messaging of either the administration or Democrats if they want to maintain control or gain control, in the case of the Democrats, to the American people? What is the gap in the messaging here?
We learned from Joe Biden that to say that inflation was transitory, first off, the average American did not know what that meant. And those that did said, no, it's not. This is real, and I'm feeling it. And Donald Trump won the election in 2024 precisely because the Biden administration did nothing in the eyes of the public on inflation. Remember, it's not reality, it's perception. If you perceive this is happening, you'll believe that that's the truth. Secondly, the Trump administration seemingly doesn't seem to prioritize these issues. And combining it with a big, beautiful bill, which was his language, his name for that legislation, it was a bad name. It was inefficient and ineffective to promote what was happening in that legislation. And now he realizes it when it's upside down in terms of public support. So going forward, first step is, I hear you, I see you, I get it. Second step is, you don't want rhetoric, you want results. You want solutions. You want common sense and not politics. And third, stop blaming the other party and start doing. These three steps, either party could take advantage of it, either party could embrace it. But if they don't, the public is not just deciding between Republicans and Democrats. They're deciding whether or not they even want to participate in the democratic process. And that's when you know you've reached the breaking point.
Frank, if you were a betting man right now, what does 26 look like?
Perfect question. Democrats narrowly take the House. There aren't that many seats that are up for play, thanks to redistricting. And by the way, Andrew, we haven't even talked about that, how damaging it is to the public perception of democracy when they change the lines in the middle of the game. If you change the football lanes, you change the baseball lines, the hostility would be significant. Democrats have a 5-point lead right now, and that's enough to give them roughly a 5-seat majority in the House and the Senate. If they botch health care, the Senate could be up for grabs as well.